In episode 3 of my Let's Play SnowRunner Phase 7 video series, I deliver some medium planks. Hello and welcome to A Tribe Called Cars. My name is Ben Griffin and this is another video where I play SnowRunner Phase 7. So if you don't want to see SnowRunner Phase 7, now is the time to hide. But also come back at a later date. Now, a little bit of housekeeping. Last week, my man flu was a little stronger than I had thought it would be, so kind of put me out of action. And then I had some video review stuff to do, which was obviously, if you follow my channel, Redout 2. Very cool game, pretty much like F-Zero and Wipeout. High-speed, futuristic racer where you get to, bang into the wall a lot if you're not very good at it, like I am. But anyway, here we are with another video, and this time we are doing the contract called Closing the Loop, which sounds like a Christopher Nolan plot, but really it involves delivering 3 medium planks, which of course take up 2 slots per plank. So you want quite a lot of storage space. I'm going to be using the as of 73210, which some person made a Reddit post with all trucks ranked, and they put this truck in D, S being top, then A, B, C, D, E, maybe there was an F, I don't remember, but suffice to say, I was horrified. This truck, it might hit its nose, but it is very, very, very good, and that is a hill I am willing to die on. But anyway, here we go. For some reason, I start the video by not actually having all the trailers ready to do all 6 slots, but eventually my 3 brain cells start working, and here we are. 6 lovely pieces of cargo taken up on the back of the 73210 and a red trailer, because the red trailers seem quite light and actually fairly resilient to tipping over by the fact that they carry quite a lot, so that weight is good. Of course, when they go, the extra weight becomes your biggest enemy, and things go south very fast. But anyway, here we go, a little bit of nose action just to emphasize the issue. But you've got active suspension, lift it up, Tim Westwood style, without the jumping V8s. But anyway, I should say exhibit actually, for the American version of the show. Now this task basically takes you a very similar route to others. In fact, somebody left a really long comment. It was basically a TED talk, but it did make a good point, and it's what I noticed particularly in Amur, and it's that you have these wonderfully large big maps, but sometimes you only visit the area once, or twice, but whatever it is, there are giant swathes of the map that you just never really bother with. And I mean, obviously it would be silly to have a task where you have to drive in a big zigzaggy loopy thing so that you go everywhere, but there are definitely, as in real life, you are limited by sort of chokeholds. It's like why ships commonly crash. It sees a big place, but if you draw a straight line for the fastest route between 2 harbours, 2 ports, whatever it is, inevitably things will line up. So there's a sort of a level of that in SnowRunner and its design, but maybe the devs could be a little more creative in forcing you round to areas that you might not see. But actually for me, playing devil's advocate here, because that's what I like, I do like to explore the maps anyway. I quite like just sort of driving around, and to be honest, they did mention Wisconsin, which is I think one of the slightly more repetitive, certainly Yukon as well. You do really take a lot of things on a similar route, but yeah, the problem with Phase 7, Tennessee, is that there aren't that many things to do, so actually you end up doing the same 2 or 3 routes quite a lot, and then that is it. That seems to be the criticism that's still present. I think what would be really cool for Saber Interactive and Focus Home to do would be to add a mission pack. We kind of had a hint of it when logging was introduced, because obviously we had that came in with a new phase. Was it phase 3? God, it's a while since I've written all this stuff and made videos, but yeah, it came in with a phase, and some of the older maps were given logging. So that was a sort of a little hint as to a future where the devs make use of what is already there, because these are lovely maps. Why not add more stuff to do? So if there was a phase where a sort of a new theme is introduced across all of the maps we already have, I wouldn't be upset. I wouldn't think that's lazy. Yeah, that would be great. I mean, it could be that you have new storms or weather introduced, or perhaps there's a new type of cargo delivery. So again, not too difficult for the devs to implement, but lots of things for us to enjoy, and maybe the said cargo can come with particular challenges. Maybe you could have, this is a bit random, but a sort of open liquid type trailer, and obviously as you start to lean over, you begin to lose drops. Or it could be a damaged fuel trailer, for instance, and it's slowly leaking, so time is of the essence. You know, you could just add something that's a little more dynamic and a little more, I guess, intense. You know, it's not just trying not to tip over, it's taking a route that is really, really flat. Otherwise you'll lose more of your precious cargo. But anyway, to be honest, you guys have seen this route in reverse, but it is quite a nice drive. If you're new to it, just take the sneaky right or left, depending on whether you're going north or south, trick through the ranch to save yourself having to repair the little rock thing. But to be honest, by now you have the generator going, and you should know how to use it, and ideally you have a truck there with fuel, so you can keep it topped up and just keep using the trailer store to buy fuel trailers. And yeah, the devs could have separated all this stuff quite unfairly to really prolong the map, but they didn't. I think it's best to avoid sort of cheap tactics. We had a few of them in a more because it was just so slow to get anywhere. Some of the terrain is just, it is passable, but you're so slow that it's not very satisfying. So at least with Phase 7, despite its shortcomings and slightly controversial theme, you do end up having a, well, what I think is a short but sweet experience. So yes, I have played Phase 7 probably more than some of the others, at least on one particular platform, on Xbox, and wanted to see what the Series X stuff was like. It's actually easier for me to record at 4K. 4K plus OBS can hurt the frame rate a little. But anyway, as we can see, the 73210 is doing a stellar job. We've had a few nose hits and whatever, digging for truffles, as I've said before, but ultimately, it is stable. Barely uses any fuel, and we have 10 wheels, not 8, as I said wrongly once for some reason. Special. But it just goes. This cargo, absolutely not a problem at all. Now, I probably should have said this earlier, but we are aiming to deliver the 6 planks, medium planks, to the construction crew, which is sort of around the racetrack. It's not an especially difficult contract, but yeah, it's quite nice. I generally and genuinely prefer the tasks where you get to carry the big stuff. I think it's just most satisfying, truth be told. Going back to Redout 2, because why not? It kind of got me thinking about the way games are reviewed, and I don't know if this is of interest to people, but coming from a journalistic perspective, where I get taken to shiny, fun events, but have to be grumpy, I mean, that comes naturally to me. I will always be honest. Doesn't matter if you give me a Ferrari. If the Ferrari is crap, I'm going to tell you that. I'll tell my listeners, readers, whatever it is, because otherwise, what's the point? Oh, I mean, it's nice to have a Ferrari, of course, but yeah. Integrity, legacy, these are more important, or at least they should be. But anyway. But in terms of reviewing those kind of games, I think a lot of people I've seen who've played it are probably not old enough to have played, the games it's based on. Which, doesn't mean they can't do a good job necessarily, of course, but I think it does help to have that sort of perspective of where gaming has come from, and that probably helps with working out where it's going as well. But the whole thing with a review structure is that you want to be first for the algorithm. It really helps. So when I get games early, I might not get a huge amount of hits on them if they're outside of my core audience passions, which, SnowRunner being the biggest. But yeah, it still helps that I get that extra time, but it's not so much for me that it means I can be first. It's more that I can play the game thoroughly, because you can sometimes when you read a review or watch a review, you'll sort of agree with it, or it gives you a rough idea, but then you'll play the game yourself and you'll get to a certain point and you're like, well, hang on a minute, why didn't they, mention that the pace changes or the longevity, or suddenly there's a car or character that just ruins the game? And the problem with trying to be first is that you don't necessarily reach that point. And of course, when your life is to make videos and play games, well, investing 20 or 30 hours, which is probably a sort of bare minimum really for some genres, is it really giving you enough information to then tell other people? In the case of racing games, you can get a lot done, and sometimes devs give you a bit of a help. It's unusual, but you can ask for things to be unlocked sometimes, or a big sack of money. I've never done that because I want to see the game as it's intended, but yeah, it really, really adds up, and fundamentally it's quite hard to analyze this kind of stuff. But yeah, and also the fact that when you get these early previews, you're often told to sign something, and you are not allowed to say anything until a certain time and a certain day, which is why suddenly your YouTube feed was probably filled with F122 stuff, because yesterday was, well, we've had another preview code, and yesterday was the launch, so fellow influencers and journalists and stuff will have been trying to catch your attention and get as many hits as possible, and everyone's going to be starting their F122 career because we now have the full game. I've got it on Xbox. I should have got it on PC because of VR. Maybe I'll do a VR career Let's Play. Who knows? I am pretty terrible though. Monaco was an absolute nightmare for me. I need to work on the maybe the car setups, but also just stop driving badly. Anyway, went a little bit off topic, but I thought maybe it'd be nice to talk about things that aren't necessarily just SnowRunner and you watching me deliver planks, which I have done successfully. And that is a wrap. Thank you very much for watching. Take care. Bye.